Hey guys, Hardhead Pistol here. I just want to jump in here to ask this quick question. I've just finished watching Kiki's Delivery Service, and a question came up in my mind that I've seen on YouTube already, but I don't think any of us actually answer this. Why do we collect?
Very good question, Hardhead. Hello, what is up guys, I'm Kyle from KGR, and one of my viewers, Hardhead, made a video recently. He asked not only himself, but also his viewers, a question that collectors seem to ask themselves all the time. Why do we collect? And he's been asking me to make this video because recently I actually just did a response video to another YouTuber, but if you want to check that out, card right here. But anyway, this is a question that I wanted to answer for a while. And I've gotten this question before multiple times, like, why do I collect figures? But when he asked himself that in the video, it wasn't just about figures. Why do we collect video games? Why do we collect comic books? Why do we collect movies or CDs? Why do we collect cards? Everybody collects something, unless you are, I don't know, not fun? Anyway, people collect something, and sometimes it gets to the point where it becomes hoarding. So, I have collected quite a few things as a child to an adult. I have collected video games, I've collected figures, I guess I collected posters? I don't know. And as a child, I used to collect cards. I still have them. But, why did I do all this? Cards is because they looked pretty, and I also like playing the card games. And games, I like going back and playing games, and it's nice to have a library. Especially in today's age where we get a lot of first-person shooters, and I'm not a fan of those at all, so sometimes I like to look back on my shelf and I'm like, let's play something. And pulls out a childhood game, or even a game that only came out a few years ago. I'd have a bigger collection, but when it comes to my food and my games, I get kind of picky. So the main question I want to answer, that I'm actually going to go more in depth in, is why I collect figures. This is a question that I've gotten multiple times, so let's make a video out of it. Again, lightly just brushed upon games and the cards and stuff like that, so that's fine. But the figures is something that I go more in depth in. The answer to the question has been changing ever since I was a child to today. As a child, I loved collecting action figures. I wouldn't say I was collecting, but I loved having action figures, mainly because I was a creative kid. A lot of kids are creative. They love having their own little action figures and making their own little adventures. I loved having action figures of my favorite video game or cartoon characters because, sure, I enjoy those stories, but I want to make my own. And again, a lot of kids are like that. And in fact, Mega Man, to me, was an action figure. I haven't played the games, but I saw the action figure and I'm like, this looks really cool. So I bought it. But I loved taking my figures out to the kitchen and having one table be the home base for the heroes, and either another table or a fridge will be the home base to the enemies. And they'd go around the whole kitchen, going on their own little adventures. And I make my own stories, and if the figures line up well, then I'd do crossovers. Again, a lot of kids do this, it's absolutely normal. But why do I still have these figures? When it comes to me collecting as a whole, I want to say the reason why I kept all this is because I'm very sentimental. In fact, I still have my childhood blanket. I look at a lot of these things and they all have a memory of something. And just throwing it away, it's almost like throwing away a part of your life. And in fact, that is the main reason why people hoard. Collecting is essentially hoarding sometimes. If it's organized, then it's a collection. If it's not, then it looks like hoarding. That's essentially all it is. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. Not try to throw hate at me, but I mean, like, I want to hear a valid argument, like why you think that I'm incorrect. But that's just how I stand on it. But anyway, I still collect figures to this day. Like, even when I was in high school, I collected all the Jazwares Sonic figures, at least every character. I didn't get every version of every character, but every Sonic character that Jazwares made, I have at least one figure of. I have the whole Sonic Riders line. I have every character they made. And I'm super happy. And I have a few of the variants. I have the clear blue Sonic and the clear purple Espio. And I love having figure forms of every character of anything. Even as a kid, I had Spy Kids figures because, again, I like being a child. I like going on little adventures. But I love having something physical that I can play with. Even if I didn't have a figure of it, because sometimes they didn't make figures of every franchise that you wanted. To this day, we still kind of suffer through that, but it's getting a little bit easier. Still waiting on new Crash Bandicoot figures. Skylander doesn't count. But anyway, if I didn't have an action figure of it, I would make some type of mock-up of it. Like, I would look into the game manual or something and cut out what he's supposed to look like, put him on a little standee, and that would be my figure. As long as I have some way of expressing my adventure, my story, it was good enough for me. And as the years that eventually slowed down, high school was mainly Sonic figures and Beyblades. I freaking love Beyblades. I love the concept of that. But anyway, let's get into after high school. That is when me importing figures started to become a thing. The first Japanese figure I imported was an Nendoroid Sonic. Unfortunately, it was a bootleg, but eventually I got a real one. Luckily, before the price really went up. But anyway, I collected those figures and I got more and more, and now I have a shelf almost full of them, and now it's worth more than my car. I don't have a problem, I swear. And when I first got into it, it was when I also had an iPod, so I was able to take pictures and share them on Instagram. And it's nice being in that kind of age, because if I was a kid, I would have been doing that all the time. But instead, I just played with them. And now I can collect these and put them in certain poses and put them on Instagram. Because I like being artistic. At least I used to be. I loved having my own little imagination. I was half decently creative, but unfortunately, I didn't know how to draw or anything, so me being artistic was a little bit hard. So when it came to action figures, it was easy to just put them in a pose, put them on a stand, put a white backdrop, and you're good. Or just put them in a real life scenario or something. As long as I was able to still express myself, I was happy. And that's why I collect action figures over statues. Sure, with statues, you do get plenty of detail and it looks amazing, but then they're stuck like that. While with action figures, at least how I used to be, I loved being able to take them, put them in certain poses, make a whole photo shoot, and be constantly coming up with new ideas and constantly taking more pictures. And when my collection started to expand a little bit more and more, I did even more pictures and did crossovers like a man-child I am. But now it's at the point, again, I wish I could show you all of it, but you'll see it in a room tour eventually, or whenever I get a wider angle lens. But my whole collection is very, very big now. And as the collection grew, unfortunately, my enthusiasm, my creativity started to die down. Like, for example, when I got the Figma Leafa to complete my Sword Art Online collection, that's essentially all it was for. After I got it, I just put it in a pose, did a figure review of it for YouTube, and then put it on the shelf, and now I'm done. I got super excited when I got the Nendoroid Sonic because you have plenty of things to work with. And plus, I was still at my peak of being very interested in this stuff and taking a lot of pictures and feeling very creative. But that spark died out in quite a few years. Then, when I got my Figma Yugi, it sparked out immediately again. I don't know if it was a nostalgia rush because that was a childhood hero, or I don't know. But now, it's essentially just filling up my shelf, and I like how they look. But there's also something else I do want to touch upon that people have asked me before in the past. What do you do when you're being judged about collecting? I'm gonna give you my personal story about my collecting habits. To start things off, when I was in high school, this is what I looked like. Long curly hair, very thin glasses, 200 pounds plus, wearing game shirts like Mario or Sonic most of the time. Hygiene wasn't the best either. Pretty much the definition of a nerd that you would see at Comic-Con. And it was what you would expect. Looking up figures on Google Images sometimes, looking up Beyblades, looking up a bunch of stuff. Pretty much being an absolute child. Then a few years down the line, I cut my hair, and then a few years after that, I decided to drop the weight. Fortunately, a little bit of it came back, so now I'm trying to work on that again. Hate being fat, hate having a low metabolism, and yet my brother can eat almost anything he wants and be just fine. Anyway, just because I collect all of this, that doesn't change who I am. This is my outfit almost every day. If you watch my YouTube channel for quite a while, you would see a lot of my videos are in a black v-neck. Every day I wear black v-neck, skinny jeans, and recently a beanie. Eventually I might change it up, but until I do, this is who I am. So when I go out and about, or if I'm on Tinder or something, girls may find me cute, but I end up warning them, I'm a freaking nerd. And then I eventually invite them over. This is where they go. They see all of this. And again, if you're new, subscribe, because eventually I'm going to do a room tour. I'm just waiting on one more poster, and then the room tour comes out. And for those who are longtime fans of the channel, you've known I've gone through quite a few girls. Now, I'm not saying it to brag, I'm just saying not everybody judges. Throughout all the girls I talked to, I've only had probably 2 girls be a problem with me being a nerd. One girl found it straight up creepy and just hung up on me on FaceTime, and when she did, I was like, thank God. Because that girl was a bitch. But the other girl just stopped texting me when I warned her I was a nerd. Because even though I do look like this and some people may find it attractive, I still don't have too much confidence in myself. But I take that back. It's actually more of a mood swing type of deal. Sometimes I'm freaking high ego, sometimes I'm just cocky, and then sometimes I'm like, oh man, I'm freaking fat and I hate myself and I need to work on it. But my point, I've dated quite a few girls and they see this and sometimes they actually really like it. There's some girls that are not into this at all, but they love my dedication to something. They love how well organized it can be. Sure, eventually those girlfriends went away, whether it be because I did something or yada yada yada, it ended up being crazy. A lot of the times I ended up doing something. I'm not perfect. But my point is, don't be afraid of people judging you. Not gonna lie to you guys, I fear about people judging my collection. So when I eventually move out, all this is gonna be in a separate room that is not my bedroom. This is where I sleep, ladies and gentlemen. But when I'm dating a girl, when I'm interested in someone, I'm not afraid to show them, this is my room, this is who I am. If you have a problem with it, you can get out. So for those who don't have confidence, I guess the only thing you can get really out of that is give yourself a makeover and hope for the best. So that's not the story I'm trying to go for. What I'm trying to say is, you can collect these things. Unfortunately, appearance does make a huge difference when it comes to dating. Dating advice with Kyle. But long story short, you can be dedicated to something. You can collect whatever you want. So I hope this answered Hardhead's question. Now I was happy to tell that part of the story like I just told recently. If you're passionate about whatever, if you want to collect figures and you're afraid of people judging you, forget them. Collect. Do what you want. Do it for you. Don't do it for them. I changed my looks because I wanted to have more confidence in myself. And yes, it happened. And I'm very happy that it did. So there's not really much else I can really say. So if you're new and you like what you saw, you know what to do. And if you make a video, let me and Hardhead know that you made a video and we'll both check it out maybe. I'm not going to promise anything from him, but I'll be more than happy to check out any videos that you make about talking about why you collect figures. Whether it be a response on Twitter, whether it be a full out YouTube video, and I pray to God it's not as long as this one because this one's freaking forever. Everyone has their story. And as a 24-year-old man, that is my story on why I collect action figures. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much. And as Nintendo Collecting used to always say, keep collecting. I guess I'll see you on the next one.